What is going on, guys? It's the Anime Society again for another great anime podcast for you this week. I want to say a big thank you to everybody that has been liking our videos, been watching our videos, and subscribing to our videos, and we hope that you continue with the support as we go along. I, of course, am Hunter, and Jonah is with me today. Say what's up, Jonah.
What's good, everybody?
And we have got a topic today that is going to turn into a mini series that we want to do. And for those of you that don't really know what that means by mini series, you don't really watch a lot of YouTube videos. Basically, it's going to be broken up into multiple episodes going forward. So today is going to be episode 1 of this series. Episode 2 won't exactly come next. The next episode might come after the next 2 or 3 episodes, but this is going to be the start of a mini series.
Right. The reason I want to do it as a series too is you'll see once we introduce the topic, but it's definitely not something that we can cover in one video. So to make sure that we're not just posting one 5-hour video, we're going to break it up into multiple episodes over the span of a few weeks. That way we can cover all the different aspects of it that we want to.
Right, and with that, Jonah, give the people what this series topic is going to be about.
Okay, so this series is called Anime Characters Who Deserved Better.
Better? You mean
better?
Better.
Better. The best, actually.
Better.
And the reason we picked this, and we're gonna interpret this in a couple different ways. I mean, there are some people that deserve better just because they had something really unnecessary and tragic that happened to them. Some people that deserve better just because they were straight up disrespected. Some people that deserve better because they lost screen time all of a sudden for no reason. So there are multiple different takes on this, but the overall topic is anime characters that definitely deserved better than what they got in their respective series.
And with that, let's go ahead and deep dive into this, kids.
Let's do it.
Just want to warn everybody right now, there will be spoilers ahead for this first character. We're going to talk about Akira, the main character from Devilman Crybaby. If you haven't seen Devilman Crybaby, we're not talking about the 1970 manga, and we're not talking about the first adaptation they did of the manga. We're going to be talking about the 2018 Netflix adaptation that they did. It's really good, so if you haven't seen it, I promise you'll really enjoy it, but do not let your 12-year-old son watch it. You will have many questions throughout the whole show. It is
rated M for mature.
Rated M for mature. Yeah, so we're going to talk about Akira from Devilman Crybaby. Again, spoilers. But Akira, his character when you're first introduced to him is an innocent, emotional boy, hence the name Crybaby in the beginning. If he gets, if something touches his heart, he'll instantly be moved to tears. But he is an innocent...
He's a sap.
Yes, okay. He is a little sap in the beginning. But it all changes. Anyways, he is an innocent, emotional boy, and he's living with friends of his parents because his parents are out of town for work. So he's living with them, and he doesn't have many friends in Japan. But he does have one really good friend, and his really good friend's name is Ryo. Well, one day, Ryo comes back to Japan because Ryo was a scientist. So Ryo comes back to Japan and finds Akira and tells Akira, hey man, I really need your help. So Akira, obviously, it's his best friend's asking for his help. He's like, yeah, man, absolutely. So he rushes off with Ryo, not even thinking a second about what it could be. He just knows that his friend needs his help. It turns out Ryo, on his trip, found out about the existence of things called devils. And he wants to expose the existence of devils to the world. And so to do that, he's taking Akira with him to a rowdy nightclub because that's where devils hang out. They hang out where everything is rowdy. And I mean rowdy.
Brothel.
And I mean it is rowdy. Okay, did I say it was rowdy? Yeah, this is a very rowdy nightclub. And so sin is everywhere, and hence the devils come out and play.
Right.
Ryo then convinces Akira when they're in there, look, the devils are strong, but if we can have you get possessed by a devil, we will be able to have the strongest, weapon against the devils that there is. And essentially, that's what happens. Akira gets taken over by a devil, and Ryo tells him, hey, this is how we'll be able to fight and defeat the devils. And that plays right into why he deserved better. It's because Ryo uses and betrays Akira. His best friend uses and betrays Akira. He deserved better because he was a peaceful kid. Akira had an ordinary life. But that was flipped upside down on his head when his best friend Ryo had him possessed by the devil. So you're no longer ordinary. Your life is no longer peaceful. I hate to tell you that. And then also he thinks that he's saving the world when in reality it's Ryo's master plan to have the world run into chaos. And because of this, Akira not only sees the world get flipped into chaos, but Akira loses the love of his life. Because the world is flipped into chaos, the girl that he loves is killed and decapitated. I mean, how would you feel if you came back trying to look for the love of your life and you see a bunch of crazed humans running around with your love's head on a spike? I mean, that's
right. And then you figure out later that this whole thing was a ploy by your best friend.
Yes.
That this was all serving your best friend's master plan to send the world into total anarchy and destruction.
Essentially for the revival of the devils, so that the devils could run around. Because then you learn that Ryo is the reincarnation of Satan himself on Earth. And so then, not only that, the love of your life has been killed, and you find out in a horrific way, your best friend is the whole reason why this world has gone into chaos, and you have to fight your best friend. You have to fight him, and unfortunately, this is where the spoilers come into play. Akira doesn't win. Ryo comes out on top. Akira loses the love of his life. The world goes into chaos, and dies at the hand of his best friend. So to me, Akira deserved a hell of a lot better than what he got.
Oh yeah, like we talked about earlier, one of the types of these characters who deserve better are ones that just had totally undeserved tragedy befall them, right? I mean, if you look at Akira's life, there's no happy ending. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. There's no silver lining, Everything that he knew and loved was taken from him by his best friend, the person who he probably had the absolute most trust in the world, ended up stabbing him in the back for his own selfish ploys. I mean, it's just unbelievable. He absolutely deserved better than what he got. That's for sure. The second person we wanted to bring up on our list, and this is a different kind of deserved better. It's Tony Chopper from One Piece. And before you freak out and you're like, why the heck would Tony Chopper deserve better? Hear us out, okay? Tony Chopper is a member of one of, if not the most notorious pirate crews in the entire world of One Piece. The Straw Hats aren't the strongest, of course, but I mean, Luffy is the only person who's ever made it to Impel Down, Enies Lobby, and Marineford, and escaped alive at all three. So, I mean, they definitely have a lot of clout, not to mention Luffy's the son of the leader of the revolutionaries, etc. So, I mean, this is a world-famous pirate crew. And Tony Chopper is the doctor. He's an essential member. It's not like he's just some lackey that doesn't do jack, you know what I mean? And Tony Chopper literally is only regarded by the world as the pet of the Straw Hats. I mean, my man gets straight up disrespected. In One Piece, the way they attribute like notoriety to different pirates is they give them a bounty, and that's kind of it's not necessarily a power scaling, but it's more of like a measure of the clout that you hold in the world. And to give you an example, like very like scrub, not a threat at all pirates, their bounties will be like 7 million, and Chopper's is 100. Literally 100. That's it. I mean, like, they do him so dirty. Like, everyone throughout the story, they get their bounty increased through each fight, and his stays the same. Literally on his picture, I'm pretty sure it says like cotton lover or cotton candy lover Tony Chopper, like bounty 100. And he's not the strongest member of the crew, but he's definitely not a pushover. You know?
No, he's not a pushover, and they've shown that a couple times earlier in the One Piece manga, and obviously the anime as well. He's had his moments to shine, and because he can transform his body with the certain candies that he would eat, and I think that was what was made him really cool. The problem is, and I agree with you 100%, not only do they disrespect him by calling him a pet and only giving him a 100 berry bounty compared to the rest of his crewmates that are like in the millions. Not only that, I can't even say, they basically cut his screen time. You don't even see him. You don't see him anymore.
No, you rarely see him at all.
And Oda really hurt him. And this is what's so crazy. He wasn't even the last member to join the crew. And they just were like, forget you, man.
He was 6th. There are 10 members of the crew right now. He was 6th. But he gets like almost no screen time. Like, and he played a pretty integral role, towards the beginning.
Oh yeah, he was really integral.
Right. He saved Nami's life. Him and his, sensei doctor or whatever. Mm-hmm. They saved Nami's life. He joins the crew, and he helped out a lot. I mean, like, Nami, for example, is not very strong by any means, and her bounty is like 66 million, and his is literally 100. Like, they even do him dirty when right after the time skip, when there's like the imposter Straw Hats at Sabaody.
Yeah.
And instead of actually finding someone to like be Chopper, they literally like found a random fox, and that was what they used as Chopper for their fake crew. Was literally just a random fox.
My man just gets absolutely screwed.
He gets just straight disrespected.
That is, and see, that's a completely different disrespect than what we were, or deserved better than what we were speaking of with Akira. Like, Tony just needs, what is it? Who was it that said, you need to put some respect on my name? That's what they need to do to Tony Chopper. They need to put some respect on his name, okay?
Literally, I mean, now in the story, he's literally only used for, like, little moments of comedic relief. He's not even used as like a primary fighter or whatever. Like, I mean, in Eni's lobby, he actually like participated in the fights and had some pretty cool moments and stuff. And now he's just like a gag. It's really a shame. He deserves better.
He does
Chopper,
deserve better.
I'm with you, man. You deserve better.
I'm with Chopper. You know what? If we had the money and could make t-shirts, I'd say free Tony Chopper.
Free Tony, dude.
Free Tony Chopper. I mean, hey, they used to say Tony Montana. No. It's Tony Chopper, okay?
Literally.
That's who they need to really be rooting for.
For sure.
So, of course, those are two completely different ends of the spectrum that we're talking about, why they deserved better. Now comes to the interesting part. I know we spent a lot of time on Akira. That was just me really saying, like, a lot of people probably don't even know much about this anime, so if I don't give you a little bit of backstory, you're not going to understand why. Tony Chopper, I think anybody can realize, okay, yeah, if he's just used for comedic relief, then like what's his point? That you're underplaying what he could really do.
Yeah.
But now is the interesting part of this series that we're going to start. This is one, ladies and gentlemen, members of the jury, everybody that's listening, Dan, everybody that's listening, this is one that could have a little controversy with it. If you understand and know who the character is, feel free to get in the chat and leave your opinion. Now we are going to talk about Emiya Kiritsugu. He's mostly known as Kiritsugu from
Fate Zero.
From Fate Zero. Yeah, and he had his moments in Stay Night.
He has a flashback.
He has he has flashbacks in Stay Night, but this is mostly Kiritsugu from Zero. And if you haven't seen Fate Zero, highly recommend it. Jonah, sure. I'm going to let you take the floor first on your stance of Emiya Kiritsugu. Does he deserve better?
Because this is when we were brainstorming, we were throwing out a bunch of different ideas, and we got to him, and me and you are on opposite sides of this coin, I think. And I can see the argument both ways, but in my opinion, I don't think that Emiya Kiritsugu deserved better. I think he deserved exactly what he got. The reason being, and I mean it is controversial. I can see the other side of the argument, but I mean for someone like Kiritsugu who is a complete utilitarian, right? And for you guys who don't know what utilitarian is, it just means your methods of action, what you do in the present, don't matter as long as you have an end, you have a goal that is going to serve in the greatest good for the most amount of people. So basically, ends justify the means, right? Doesn't matter if I use any kind of underhanded, messed up tactic, as long as my end goal is going to promote the welfare of society or whatever and end up in the greatest good, then I can justify it. But this is why I don't think Kiritsugu deserved better. When you go along that way of thinking, I feel like your end, like if your end doesn't actually contribute to the overall good of society, then I don't feel like any of your means are justified, and so you got exactly what you deserved. Because then you're not like heartless in the present, and then a great, this person who did a lot of good in the long term. You're just a despicable person in both regards, And I mean, his goal was just. I think. I mean, his goal all along was he didn't want to have a world with conflict, right? Isn't that right?
Right.
That was his overall goal.
That was his overall goal. Yeah, he wished for a world without conflict, and so to do that, he wanted to destroy the Grail.
Right, but originally he didn't want to destroy the Grail. Originally he wanted to use the Grail, and he had killed all these different people throughout his life, and wanted to use the Grail in order to wish for a world without conflict.
Mm-hmm.
But once he got in that moment, and he was presented, I think like the spirit of the Grail appears to him, and he's presented with the scenario that would play out if he was granted his wish. Yeah. And he realizes that the cost of making that wish was far greater than the benefit it would bring.
Mm-hmm.
And so what he believed all along was wrong. And so he thought, my next best option is to destroy the Grail. But when he did that, the Grail ended up overflowing into the world and ended up killing, like, presumably thousands of people,
Right.
And so I just think that if you're going to believe in utilitarianism, then your ends have to actually result in good. If not, I feel like that just makes all of your actions really despicable.
I think where we differ and disagree is that I am okay with the utilitarianism to a degree, especially when it comes to, anime characters, because I've always believed that the ways of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Right. I agree with that 100%, and that's something that, to me, I can almost respect, especially with the fact that he did wish for a world without conflict. Now, it would be different if Kiritsugu wanted to use the Holy Grail. You can almost say for something a little bit more selfish, because it's kind of selfish, but it's not selfish because it is for the rest of the world. But you could consider it selfish because that is his own wish, and anything that you want to do for yourself can be considered selfish. That's beside the point. But what I'm getting at is, I think the reason, they couldn't let him get his way, obviously, or else it would end. That would be the end of it. We wouldn't get Unlimited Blade Works, We wouldn't get Fate Stay Night. We wouldn't get Fate Apocrypha. We wouldn't get all of the other fates that came after if they allowed him in Season 1, obviously Season 1, Fate Zero, to get his way and wish for a world without conflict and just let him destroy the Holy Grail. Which he did destroy, technically, the Lesser Grail. The Greater Grail still ends up to be intact, and that was the one that was causing all sorts of mishap, fires, and carnage. And I can agree that the killing the thousands of people is horrible. But what I guess I'm thinking is, he deserved better because he did start to have that moment of reconciliation. He did start to have that moment where it was like, okay, I'm finally going to be able to see my dream come to fruition. What I've been working so hard to get to this whole time. And whether or not you agree with his tactics, I mean, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about his his mindset in wanting a world of peace. That would have been fantastic. That's where I'm like, I believe he deserved better, because he did deserve to finally get there at the end. To be the guy at the end that has the grail. Okay? He should have been able to have his wish fulfilled.
But I wonder, though, like, because to me, I think it does go back to his motives. And the question that I have is, like, was Kiritsugu was he working towards a world without conflict because he believed that was the right thing and because he believed that would help the world? Or was he doing that because that is what he wanted as a selfish desire? I mean, like, when you look at Kiritsugu's like life, I'm pretty sure his parents were killed in some kind of conflict when he was young, and he had several tragedies that happened to him as a kid. And so I feel like his goal, I feel like Kiritsugu was a lot more selfish than people realize. I think that he was doing it for his own benefit rather than the benefit of the world at large. And it's like there's the famous philosopher, his name, I think it's like Immanuel Kant, and he talks about acting according to duty or acting from duty. When you act according to duty, it's like doing the right thing, but not because it's the right thing. It's you just happen to be doing the right thing. It doesn't factor in motives.
Yeah.
Whereas acting from duty is doing the right thing because you know it's the right thing. I think that Kiritsugu, his goal in using the Grail was more acting according to duty, doing the right thing because that's what his selfish desire was. And if that ended up being good for everyone else, then that was an almost unintended side effect.
Yeah, and I guess he just didn't take into consideration the fact that he could lose his family at the time. So, it's one of those things where you could almost say he had tunnel vision the whole time. He had a goal, and like you said, he would do anything because utilitarianism. That's always going to be tough for me to say. I don't care what people say. That's always going to be a word that trips me up. But, he just wanted to do anything and everything to meet his goal. And, there are a lot of people out there that are like that. So you can have sympathy for that. You can understand. Yeah. When I'm looking at it, did he deserve better? It was to the point where it was like, you know what? Yeah. That's to me. Of course, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I understand that completely. I'm just thinking, even if you want to say that is a selfish motive for him wanting to have a world without conflict, who's sitting here necessarily to say that that's a bad selfish need? It would be different if he wanted the world without conflict, because it doesn't necessarily benefit him because he was always a contract killer.
Right.
Growing up, he was a contract killer.
I also think that, you bring up a good point. I think that even if your desire is selfish, doesn't necessarily make it a bad thing. Like, I think that there are a lot of people that innovate and create inventions and medicines and yada, yada, yada. Right. And they do it for money for themselves, right? Yeah. But it does end up benefiting the world. So I don't think that selfishness is necessarily in and of itself a bad motive if what you're producing is good. But I think in the case of Kiritsugu, like, it didn't end up good. I mean, granted, like, he couldn't. Oh no, it
didn't end up good. Yeah, and I think that's what I mean. He had no way of knowing it was gonna just go all to shit. Okay, he just had no way of knowing that. In his mind, he had gotten there. His dream was about to come true, and then, nope.
Yeah, and I think the biggest problem I have with him is just the way he treats people like pawns.
Oh well, yeah.
It's like
they're just cogs to his master plan.
Right. He doesn't seem like, except, at the end, and that's why I feel like he almost deserved what he got. Was at the end, I'm pretty sure, when he meets with like the spirit of the Grail or whatever and realizes that he needs to destroy it, in that moment he also realizes that what he really wants, instead of a world without conflict, is to be able to live with his wife and child in peace. Yeah. That was his true desire. Yeah. And he ended up sacrificing that and all kinds of other things because his mind, like you said, tunnel vision, his mind got clouded by this overall goal that he wanted to achieve. And so he wasn't able to make the best choices.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I agree to disagree.
Well,
That's
hey,
right.
we'll settle this in the chat. I mean, we gotta have people let us
That's
know in the
right.
chat what they
That's
think
right.
about Emiya Kiritsugu and whether you think he made the right decisions. You know, it's kind of like utilitarianism versus deontological ethics.
That's right.
But yeah, anyways, let us know in the chat what you guys think about Emiya Kiritsugu.
Yeah, please get in the chat. Let us know down below in the chat as well who you think deserved better. If it wasn't somebody on our list, and please don't be upset if we didn't list anybody and we only listed 3 people. If you skipped ahead early, we are again doing this as a series. We will have more and more coming out with more characters that we believe deserved better. And if you do want to leave a comment in the chat saying who you would like to see, whether or not we think he deserved better or not, because we'll always try and put one at the end that's a little bit controversial, do that as well. We want this to be interactive in the chat. So get down there, leave some comments, and also if you enjoyed today's content, like the video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy the content that we're bringing you continuously, don't forget to subscribe as well. Joni, got any final words for the people before we get out of here?
Also, check us out on Instagram. We made a page. It's its.the.anime.society. We're going to be posting content there, all the links to our videos. I think we're also going to try to make that page a little bit more interactive going forward by doing some different polls, posting different pictures about us and getting to know us, the content creators, a little bit more. So, yeah, give us a follow and make sure to keep in touch to look out for our future content.
And with that, we are going to slide up out of here. Continue to look for more of our content going forward, and we want to thank you again for sticking with us so far. This is the Anime Society, and we will see you next time.
Peace!